Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Navneet Education Q2 FY22 earnings conference call hosted by Prabhudas Lilladher Private Limited. As a reminder, all participants' lines will be in listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference, please signal an operator by pressing star and 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Dinesh Joshi from Prabhudas Lilladher. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thanks, Vikram. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Prabhudas Lilladher, I welcome you all to the 2Q FY22 earnings call of Navneet Education Limited. We have with us the management represented by Mr. Sunil Gala, who is the MD, Mr. Deepak Kaku, CFO, and Mr. Romi Mistry, who is the head IR. I would now like to hand over the call to Sunil sir for opening remarks, and then we can open the floor for Q&A. Thank you, and over to you, Sunil sir.
Thank you, Dinesh. So, good morning to all of you. I'm sure you all would have received the Q2 results. I think I will start by Rather, I'll tell half-yearly numbers instead of just focusing quarterly. So, as you could see that in Q2, publication business grew substantially, but at half-yearly it grew only 5%. Now, here I would like to explain compared with the last year. Now, in Q1 of last year, it was 100% lockdown. And in Q2, we did good revenue. The major reason for the revenue was an expectation of schools reopening again, and therefore the trade, the schools, everyone bought books. But actually, schools did not open, and therefore the stocks or the inventory was lying with the either a distributor booksellers or with the schools. So actually, secondary sales did not happen last year, but we achieved good sales in Q2 because of the expectation. Whereas in the current year, though first quarter was almost no schools opening, but since second quarter, schools did open in few parts of India, majorly for Gujarat for us, and therefore we did receive various orders. And the end customers also started buying that. So the major difference between last year and current year is that in last year, the final consumers had not bought the products, whereas in this year, final consumers have bought the products. So this is the reason of just 5% growth. Of course, I will tell you overall scenario going forward, but let me tell you first the present numbers. As far as stationery is concerned, similar story for domestic stationery, where half yearly we grew just by 9%, and in exports we grew by 19%. So, as I mentioned about publications, similar is the story for domestic stationery. So actually, end consumers have started buying stationery in India. And as far as exports are concerned, the orders are I would say quite in full swing. No doubt the back to school products, which is more or less called a commodity products, their orders are quite slow because similar was the situation in developed countries also. So all the buyers of our stationery product had good amount of inventory with them since last year. So this year we received lesser orders for the common products that we used to export, but thanks to various innovative products that we have made, new products, new categories that we have made, that gave us growth in revenue of exports. So overall, if I talk about both the businesses, more or less schools have opened in most of the areas. No doubt, only few grades have opened in most of the areas. So we do receive continuous orders going forward. Quarter 3 or quarter 4 will be, we believe, better than last year if there is no again COVID in the country. So publication sales is likely to grow from here on and will be better than last year. I also simultaneously would like to agree that still publication sales will not be at the level of pre-COVID levels in the current year. And if there is no COVID again and school starts opening again from next year in time, then we will see more or less better than the pre-COVID period also, that is the next year. And similarly in stationery, I would say that sales will grow in Q3 and Q4 also. So net, I would say that overall publication and stationery business will do better. I would say much better than the last year. May not be as pre-COVID levels, but going forward, 22-23 looks quite safe now. As far as subsidiary Indianica is concerned, was the similar story last year versus this year. So sales have grown a bit. Expenses also have reduced quite substantially. And Q4, which you all know is the best quarter for Indianica type of business, which is in textbooks. I'm sure if schools are reopening everywhere, then we will have good sales for Indianica in Q4 as well. So overall, at a group level in both core businesses, publications and stationery, things are looking better than last year and will be more or less better or much better than the pre-COVID levels next year. Many of you may be wondering about raw material scenario. So I agree that paper prices have started rising again, substantially I should say, thanks to overall inventory management at Navneet. We have sufficient raw material inventory bought at a reasonable price earlier, and supposing we need more and more inventory later part of the year for preparing ourselves for the next year, as earlier always we'll be able to pass on this incremental inventory of raw material to the end consumer. So we are not really much worried about raw material scenario right now. So overall numbers will be much better than pre-COVID levels next year. This year still will be little muted. Now the most important thing on EdTech, which you might have many questions. So as we all know that EdTech is really doing quite well. Companies are heavily capitalized and they are aggressively marketing that products. Many new products are coming in. We are aware of the situation totally. No doubt, as far as our SSC business is concerned, the impact is quite low as of now till in EdTech. But overall, going forward, we see that the EdTech usage, technology or digital product usage in the school among the students will increase going forward. Keeping that in mind, I should briefly tell you what all that we are doing. So at our subsidiary eSense, where you all know that we had digital content for the classroom learning or for the student learning, basically focusing Maharashtra and Gujarat. So that product still continues to do well in terms of not revenue, frankly, but in terms of usage, and the monetization of that usage will definitely happen now. So that is on. Simultaneously at eSense, we are bringing out similar type of content for CBSE, as well as an excellent LMS platform being built on which we will recite CBSE content, and similar content will be recited on Maharashtra and Gujarat curriculum also. There are certain other platforms, including ERP, is under preparation. So we believe that for all the schools, be it state level or central government, it means CBSE, we will have enough offering to be given to the schools. Apart from that, we are also working very, very strongly with DigiBook, we call it. It is the digital version of the text of the books that we are publishing. So the idea is that many of our products are on DigiBook platform, and we are reinventing the platform, which had certain limitations when we launched last year. So we have many products on DigiBook. The idea is whichever student buys physical books will get access to the digital book as well, which will have many more features than a physical book. Apart from that, we are in the process of bringing smart books also for the usage. It means students who just opt for digital version of the book and not buying physical book can avail and use smart books, which has furthermore advantages over a digibook itself. So smart book is will be a total different experience for students to use, and I'm sure going forward usage of smart book will increase many-fold from now. Similarly, we are in the process of building and developing one kids platform, to which we call it LipBridge Kids platform. It is just not a digital platform, but kids plus digital, both will be provided to the students for the age group between 2 and 8. It will be one of its kind of a platform that will be launching, and the launch will be in around February of 22. So usage of that platform will start from then. So we believe that the kind of learning that the young kids require have been quite well captured, and this platform will be very, very useful to the young kids of the country to start with. So the logic behind bringing this kids platform is that in the metros, many of us have access to good quality nursery schools or primary schools, but across India the limitations are of a good quality education is a limitation, and therefore we believe that if after school, if parents allows their students to use this platform, it will be much beneficial to the students. Similarly, as you all know, that we have invested in 3 companies, one of which is a tutoring platform. So the whole idea of buying this platform was, apart from LMS or ERP that we'll be offering to the schools, we'll simultaneously offer tutoring platforms also to the tutors. So the whole ecosystem of schools will have various products which they can use on an ongoing basis, and there will be lots of similarity using this platform, including the LMS or the tutoring platform. So it will be easier for the teachers to use this platform. So whatever modifications were required post-acquisition have been done, and we have already started marketing this platform to the teachers, and we are hoping that it will be put to use in a good way going forward. And similarly, our investments in B-Galileo, where we own only 46% though, but it is a great math platform. Their present sales majorly are in the international market, but we are planning to launch the same in Indian markets and to spread as much as possible, math being the main important subject for any student and for their future. So we are quite upbeat and hopeful on creating awareness of math platform together with Navneet's initiative. And similarly, the another investment that we did in Tinkerly, which is a STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, which is also phygital. It is just not digital. So the STEM libraries are being put up in various schools. So with the connect of Navneet, we'll try and grow their market, and it will be, of course, on revenue share basis, and that way we'll try to create awareness of STEM libraries in many schools. So net, we have big plans in EdTech, including investments, and to bring out relevant products for K-12 segment going forward, be it B2B or B2C. So all every month or every 2 months, I'm sure there will be news coming out from the group that various products are being launched. So we are quite upbeat on EdTech initiatives now. So overall, just to sum up, I should say that the core businesses are better than the last year, not as good as pre-COVID levels, but 22-23 looks quite bright, and we are prepared for that. And as far as our EdTech initiatives are concerned, many initiatives have been taken, and going forward, we'll see the results of that. So with this briefly I mentioned, and I will now request all of you to have any doubts, get it cleared, and I'll be happy to answer all of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on your touchtone phone now. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask a question at this time, please press star followed by 1 on your touchtone phone now. We have a first question from the line of Samarth Singh from TPF Capital. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Good morning.
Yes, you are, sir.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very fine.
My question, a couple of questions around Indianica. One is, given that's a Q4 business, and I believe all of Delhi schools have opened up, shouldn't Indianica at least to have a full year's worth of normalized revenue this year?
So Indianica, whichever schools wanted to start in the last quarter of last year, they had bought books. But now, since I would say I agree with you that 8, 9, 10th, 11, 12 standards or grades have opened up, still primary schools have not opened in most of the areas. And our major business is from grade 1 to grade 8. Those schools have not fully opened operational as of yet across India, which we are expecting these schools will open now. And going for once open, and if there are no other issues in full swing for the full year, next year it will be open. So therefore I said that Q4 numbers will be better going forward.
Okay. So the notification is starting November 1st, all schools in Delhi from all grades are allowed to be open. Is that correct?
Yeah, we can't just judge on Delhi notification. We have to see all India. And as I said, across the country, up to 8th grade schools rarely have opened. And most of them will open from 1st November onwards. So this year will be very minimal, 4 to 5 months of learning only. For that, how much do they buy and make students to use that will be a question. Curriculum also will be reduced. So we are not sure how much sales will we generate for this period. But next year going forward, we are very confident that all schools will buy it in time and start in time.
Okay. But Indianica has largely been a Delhi NCR business. Is that correct, or is my understanding wrong?
It is not so. Of course, CBSE schools are more in that area, and therefore revenue from Delhi and surrounding NCR is larger. But otherwise, we are spread across India. So the 40% revenue comes from NCR belt, the rest still comes from rest of India. So overall, yeah, sales will be from across India.
And there were some management level changes at Indianica. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so CEO moved from Indianica for some better opportunities for him. And overall, now that business that we have quite well understood, so the person from Navneet who was aware of the market, CBSE market and textbook market, has been appointed to manage that business now.
Okay. And my last question was on, how are we seeing this shift from SSC schools to CBSE pattern schools? And when that shift is happening, one, how aggressive is that? And when it is happening, are we managing to maintain our relationship and sales into these schools when they're shifting from SSC to CBSE pattern?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I should say here that out of the total private schools, still 70% of them are regional medium schools across the country, including our core areas that we operate in. So balance 30-odd% English medium schools trying to convert themselves to CBSE pattern schools. So fortunately, Navneet or its group companies have already relationship with those companies for so many years. Even if they convert themselves, we should be able to leverage our relationship that we have. And by leveraging those relationships, we already have print content if they want. Now that we are preparing for the digital content, which will be launched in next 2 months or so, so we will have digital content, digital platforms to use. So whatever that they want, be it print books or digital version or print plus digital, we are actually ready with everything. So by leveraging our relationship, we'll be able to market all our products well.
So have we already seen that happen where one of our schools that we work in?
Yeah. Across India, many English medium state affiliated schools, even though they are not getting CBSE certification, but they are trying to convert themselves to CBSE pattern schools. So up to 8th grade, they are likely to use non-government textbooks or non-NCERT textbooks and will start using private publishers' textbooks. That trend we are seeing quite aggressively now.
No, my question was in the sense that we are managing to maintain our sales into those schools even after the conversion has happened from SSC to whatever, CBSE pattern.
Yeah, that's what I said, that we have now print content for CBSE pattern schools as well, or CBSE schools, as well as we will have digital content as well. So whatever schools want, be it print or digital, we will have to offer to them.
Okay, that's all for now. I'll get back in the queue. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on your touchtone phone now. Participants, to ask a question, please press star followed by 1. We have next question from the line of Nagraj Chandrasekhar from Laburnum. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Just on the same CBSE question, I noticed that the Andhra government has been talking about converting all Andhra government schools to CBSE in the next 2 or 3 years. Now, obviously, governments make all sorts of announcements. It's hard to know what is doable and what is not. But do you see a similar move in Gujarat, Maharashtra, where government may say, okay, in the next 3 years, we want every government school to move to CBSE? Do they have the resources and capacity to make this happen? And I suppose our plan in that case would be we already have our content lineup via Indianica, etc. So we just have to go and sell it to them. But I'm just curious what we're seeing in that direction in our geographies. And I think, if I look at the previous questioner's question, I think what he was trying to get at was some statistics around if we look at schools we were earlier selling SSC into and that have converted, how much have our sales to those schools changed? Has it gone up? Has it gone down? Has it been the same? I don't know if you're tracking that, but if you are and if there's something shareable, that would definitely be helpful.
Yeah, sure, Nagaraj. So first, let me clarify that when any government says that they want to change their curriculum in line with CBSE, what do they mean by it? That the curriculum that they have been creating so far, instead of that, they will start creating curriculum based on NCERT, that is as CBSE schools uses. Now, similar things have already happened in Gujarat. So, state board also already has created textbooks in line with CBSE. If that be so, we already have our core products, be it guides or workbooks, in line with those textbooks created by the state government. So we are not really concerned. If they bring that in line, definitely our content creation capability or strengths that we have will be leveraged that we have in CBSE straight away to the SSE school. So creating content, frankly, is never an issue to Navneet. Marketing of those products will always be a challenge, or we'll have to continue using and leveraging our relationship. So even if that happens in Maharashtra, like it has happened in Gujarat, we are not at all concerned. And to answer your second point, which Samarth also asked, that is there any shift? And so as I said, 70% of the schools are still regional medium. There we are not seeing at all. Only out of 30% school, 1 or 2% schools would have converted themselves to CBSE pattern. Yes, their SSE sales have reduced for sure, but likewise we are seeing that because of our relationship and quality of product, they already have prescribed our Indianica product, or in Navneet also we have certain products which can be used in CBSE pattern schools. So of course every year we may lose out on some schools, but simultaneously we gain on many other schools where products are not being used till now. So net I should say, even with this change or conversion from SSE to CBSE, we will have more advantage.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nagaraj.
Thank you. To ask a question, participants may press *1 now. We have next question from the line of Samarth Singh from TPF Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the follow-up. Just a quick question on the utilization for our stationery business. How are we doing there at this point?
You mean utilization of the capacities?
Yes.
Yeah. So no doubt capacity utilization has been low last year and partly this year. Thanks to our exports continuous growth and the new items being asked by our customers. So we are trying to utilize as much as possible, but we should understand one more thing, that why is India at an advantage? It is because of the labor, not of the machineries that we have, because machineries are there across the globe.
Right.
Because of the labor, we do get good orders, and because of innovative products that we have created with the help of labor, we are getting more and more orders. So we are really not much worried about utilization of capacity. It will get utilized 100% when in India things are back to normal. But our overall focus is creating innovative products, newer and newer categories, and showcasing it to our end customers. So that process is on. So, but next year I'm sure capacity will be utilized, and we are rather investing more money into stationery, keeping in mind export opportunities.
So the follow-up to that, so what is, if you could give either for the balance of this year, for I guess second half of this year, or for next second half of this year and next year, how do we just look at our cash outflows in terms of capex, investment in various edtech opportunities, and working capital, and of course the buyback that is currently going on.
Yeah. So I agree. So this year's profit majorly will be utilized in buyback and investment in 3 companies because we are not seeing pre-COVID levels yet, and will be left out with something. So overall investment, to answer your first question on stationery business, this year the investments have been low as far as expansion is concerned. Major investments are going in acquiring land, so that will get completed in next couple of months, and post that, depending on which type of products our customers demanding, and that we will start investing in the infrastructure, including machineries. But as far as EdTech is concerned, with the various initiatives organically that we have taken, there will be around 20-25 crores of investment maybe part of that will be expenditure in the current year ending March, and next year major spends will be creating awareness of those products, be it sales team or advertisement. So maybe 40 to 50 crore will be utilized next year, plus 20 odd crores in further development. So 70 odd crores will be spent next year in EdTech 22-23 for sure.
Okay. And for this year, so you said 20 to 25 crores. That would be for the balance part of the year.
That's right. And part of will be in expenditure. It may not be all investments. It will be the major expenditure would be on people right now.
Right. And are we looking at more opportunities in terms of different businesses, or we are sort of happy with the companies that we have invested in so far, and we'll just be focusing on them?
No, as I said, organically, as I said earlier in my presentation of the company, that at Essence we are building CBSE content, and also we are developing LMS platform, also ERP platform. So it is just not the content that we will be giving them. We are giving them platforms to put to use in the school and the classroom. So that activity that we are doing, we are also bringing out DigiBook and SmartBook for the end customers. We are also developing LipBridge Kids platform for the age group 2 to 8, which will be digital plus physical products, it means kids. So organically also several actions have been taken to, several plans are there to create new products or platform and then start marketing them.
Right. And on the exports, stationery exports, pre-COVID, we believe that it was a very large market for us to address, and we were expecting pretty high growth rates for at least 5 years, and looking ahead 5 years. Now, sort of post-COVID, has that thesis changed, or you still believe there are opportunities there?
Yeah, opportunity is quite large. I think, as I said in my speech, demand for our core products were low this year. Once their inventory is sold, then again next year it will be the same demand as far as our core products are concerned. And as I said, we have created so many different new products and categories that we are seeing good demand for that. Apart from that, forget about our stationery business. There are so many inquiries for various kind of related products and categories from our customers. I'm sure each and every customer is looking in India for their future growth, and therefore opportunity-wise, I do not see a challenge at all. I think how we can service them is what we really need to focus right now.
When you say related...
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt. Would you like to come back in a question queue?
Sure.
Yes, thank you. We have a next question from the line of Anand from Newport Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning, Anand.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation so far. My question is a little bit on the EdTech strategy, and the way I understand it, providing providing digital content for both SSC and CBSE seems to be a big part of the strategy. So my question really is, isn't this going to be more of a substitution demand? For example, if somebody is buying your SSC physical book, is he going to spend more money on your digital book, or is he going to get that free? So similar for CBSE. And therefore, I did not understand when you meant monetization of content will happen now. So two parts. One is this substitution demand, or are we going to make money out of this digital? And secondly, in what way do you mean monetization is going to take place?
Yeah, first let me clarify. These are not substitution. These are complementing to each other, to physical books also. So let me clarify. If for SSC, the content that we already have, that is based on the textbook published by the state government, which is compulsory to be used in each and every school. So in SSC till now, we have supplementary products, not the core textbook. So supplementary products are guides, workbooks type of a product. So that for practice, for reading, in any case, students will need it. But by bringing out digital content to be used in the classroom, together with good platforms like LMS and ERP, it will be at an advantage not only to the teachers but to the school also, to manage that content, to manage overall operations of the school. So for SSC schools, apart from what they're actually teaching from a textbook, we have digital content together with the platforms to offer. Now, as far as CBSE is concerned, our content no doubt will be based on our own products to start with. I should also simultaneously say that, be it from different publisher, finally the textbooks are created based on the curriculum given by NCERT. So 80% of the content is, I would say content-wise, it is more than 80% will be same. Only the way it is explained by a different publisher in their books could be different. So 80% of the curriculum, as I said, is CBSE, whatever that they have prescribed. So wherever our books are being sold, then schools will be at a benefit to use the digital content in the classroom, which I'm sure you all will agree that using digital content explains students much more better way than just teacher writing on a black or white board. And it becomes very easier and convenient for teachers to explain the concepts. So students, rather school, end up buying our books, and if they use the digital content in the classroom, it will be win-win, and it is complementary, as I said. So, and schools which are not using our books but still wants to opt for this, as I said, 80% of the content is same across all CBSE schools, because it is prescribed by NCERT. Because when students grow in 9th and 10th grade, when they appear for the board exam, it has to be common. So curriculum, frankly, is same. The way it is presented is different by different publishers. So frankly, by offering digital content, we may get push to sell our physical books also. So that's the whole plan.
Sorry, so let me just understand this better. Let's take, say, only SSC for now. So currently there are Maharashtra state government textbooks which everybody buys, and then most people would buy your Navneet physical guide.
Right.
So who will buy the digital guide or whatever that you're producing? Are you saying that the teacher will ask the student to buy, or who's going to buy this? I mean, who's going to buy physical guide plus digital guide? That's what I'm trying to understand.
No. I'll explain you. First, frankly, I was explaining you the classroom version of things. So when you're asking me about physical and digital book, at present what we are doing is whoever buys physical book, we are giving them digital book for free. So we are printing a code on a physical book, and once they enter that code in the system, they can get access to digital book. but that digital book has many more features than a physical book. So including animations, including highlighting, including writing notes. So it is a trend that we are trying to set among the student community that digital version is good. But going forward, I also spoke about smart books. Now, smart book is much advanced version of digital book. Going forward, if students end up buying only digital version and use smart book, they will have the same benefit of getting a good quality content together with lot many features. So in a long term, if we say that if students buy more and more digital books, which will be of course selling, as digital books means smart books, which will of course be selling, will be at a lesser price than a physical book. Overall, it is an advantage to any publisher. So it is a slow process. I agree that for giving digital book right now together with physical, we are not going to charge anything extra. But our idea is to convert those users to use digital book going forward, where they are more benefited and company is at a better advantage.
Right. Understand. Okay.
And frankly, bringing digital book does not cost much because content creation is already done in a physical book. It is just the platform that we have to create, and with many features which are built in the platform itself. So to create digital book is not really a costly affair.
Right. Yeah. So you made one more statement while explaining all of this earlier, saying that monetization of content will happen now. So what do you mean by that?
What I meant by that, the pure digital content that we are creating for CBSE or that we have created for SSE schools, by giving them, creating awareness of that content together with learning management platform, together with ERP that we will be offering to the school, that way I said we'll be able to monetize. I was not talking about DigiBook that time.
Yes, I know.
It is a different content altogether.
So most of the money that for monetization that we're expecting is going to be from the schools, not necessarily from the students, as of now at least.
As of now, I agree with you. But whenever students end up buying more and more smart books, that time it will happen from smart book.
Understand. Now I understand. Perfect. I'll get back into you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. We have next question from the line of Sonal Kohli from Bowhead Investment Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Gala. I hope all is well.
How are you? Fine.
I am good. Thank you, sir. Thank you for this opportunity. Sir, I had two queries. Firstly, you mentioned about, Gujarat, a trend of, if I heard it correctly, there's some disturbance in my line of, schools government intending to, have more CBSE schools.
Right.
So what has been the transition so far? So either the course is on the lines of CBSE schools, or these have converted into CBSE schools.
No. Course is in line with CBSE schools.
So there is no impact. So that way it doesn't really impact you.
So it's not only again SS or English medium schools. For even regional medium, the content has been in line with CBSE. That way they have created the textbooks of the state government, which all students have to compulsorily use. So for us, it is just a syllabus change.
So for you, in that sense, this is actually good because your syllabus changes.
That's right.
And sir, how many schools out of the total schools have already done this transition in Gujarat?
You mean to say converted to CBSE pattern?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so as per our information till now, around, frankly, number will be little approximate, around 800 to 900 schools have converted, English SSE affiliated schools have converted themselves to CBSE pattern schools.
So we are not seeing much English ones which are converting.
Yeah, we are not seeing much growth of CBSE affiliated schools. I believe all of you understand what is affiliation and what is pattern. Affiliation which has CBSE certification, and to start a CBSE school or to convert to CBSE affiliation school, there are so many criteria prescribed by CBSE board, and that is really not easy but very costly affair. Therefore, many SSC affiliated schools, they convert themselves, they say they convert themselves to CBSE pattern school, but remain affiliated to SSC only.
So, sir, it will be difficult for you to track actually how many of the schools have changed the curriculum on the lines of CBSE, right?
No, not difficult. My people are always on the ground. They have been always in touch with the management and the school authorities. So we always know which schools are changing.
How many schools have done that then? Would you have some idea?
Around 800 to 900 schools.
So that is for the English schools, right?
That's right.
But for the regional languages, has there been any conversion?
Nothing. No. We are not seeing any change there at all.
So then this must be a very small number, I mean, compared to the total number of schools. I mean, it hardly counts.
Trend has started, and therefore we believe future looks to be quite bright to use CBSE-based curriculum.
And that would only be restricted to the English language, or would it even go to
I can give you another example. Now, take for example our own investee company K12 Techno, which runs Orchid International. They have tied up with a couple of regional medium schools. Now, why those regional medium schools wanted to convert themselves to, first of all, English medium schools, forget about CBSE. But the school trustees or the management does not have bandwidth even to convert themselves to English medium schools. So what they did, they tied up with an operator or management consultant like K12. Likewise, there are many now in the country. So they tied up with them and simultaneously started English medium school. Since they connected with K12, we all started CBSE schools. So that way, slowly, even regional medium schools wanted to modernize them by converting them to English medium school and more so CBSE schools. So that trend also has started now.
And sir, how widespread is that? I mean, it's like 0.5%, 0.1%, like 5% of schools converting every year, you know? And if this is so, wouldn't it eventually impact you because, you know, the content is in regional languages, you know, and once it is in English language, you'll get more competition?
Yeah, I agree that competition could be higher and higher. So the conversion, as we see from regional medium to English medium, it will not be even 0.5% of the private schools. It is slow, but what I wanted to convey was that it has started. English medium schools converting to CBSE pattern is little faster. So going forward, as a group like Navneet or any publisher will have to simultaneously focus on CBSE curriculum very strongly, be it physical books or digital products.
But sir, how would these schools address the language issues? Because, you know, to teach in an English medium school, the teachers first need to be trained in English.
You mean to say how will school address those?
These issues, because, you know, I mean, it's easy to say that a school wants to convert itself into an English medium.
No, but so unless they tie up with some management companies like K12, like DPS, if they do contract with them, then the management company takes over the responsibility right from appointing teachers, training teachers, all that they take care. And therefore, it is utilization of a good asset lying in a good location. So that way, if with management companies coming in, it will be possible for those schools. I agree that trustees of those schools, regional medium schools, do not have bandwidth to change that.
But currently you're saying it's 0.5%. Do you expect that at some point of time?
It will be much lesser even as of now. But the idea has started. Few schools took decision to do that. So it has started. And once started and seen successful running, then I'm sure the trend will further continue faster.
And sir, how could you increase your competitive advantage in this period so that, you know, the schools who are converting stick with you?
One is, of course, we are always confident on our quality of product. So with that in mind, or with that effect, the relation that we have we'll have to continue maintaining and rather strong maintain those relations and simultaneously create more and more products and platforms, including digital, to support those schools. So then we should be able to maintain our market share.
And sir, as far as you mentioned that there are related products for which you are seeing a lot of inquiries, on the stationery side, could you throw some light on what these are? What is the size of the pie? And, over a 5-year period, how big this export opportunity could be, or at least in terms of your ambition, what is the ideal number you're looking at? And what are these related products?
So as I mentioned in my earlier question, now it is up to us how fast we can cater to them. So with whatever investments that we have already planned, in next 5 years, 25% CAGR growth is easily achievable going forward. Now, as far as categories are concerned, I can give you a couple of examples. So many of the categories are for stationery products being used in the offices, now just not focusing the schools. So there are so many PE-based or PU-based products that are being made, including executive notebooks, including writing pads. These are very highly value-added products. It is just not made on the machinery, but the binding of those products needed to be done manually. So lots of manual process is concerned. Then, for example, there is a big trend in the US in particular about canvas boards for painting. Now, we never knew such opportunity exist. India would be exporting hardly around 50-odd crore worth of products, plain. I'm not saying painted, but plain canvas boards to the developing countries. But that opportunity, it is just 1 month's consumption of a retailer like Walmart. So there is huge opportunity. We have already executed few orders, whatever gradually quality improvements were required have been achieved. So that category will be doing quite well now. So these are the related products that I was saying.
And sir,
sir, I'm sorry to interrupt. Take next question. You may come back in the question queue. Thank you. Thank you. We take next question from the line of Nagraj Chandrasekhar from Laburnum Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the follow-up. So this trend you mentioned of schools in Maharashtra, Gujarat shifting to English medium of instructions and the English medium instruction schools shifting to CBSE pattern, with 70-30 split that is going more towards the 30. Just the NEP envisages, the guidelines envisage teaching of non-language courses in the regional language. How does that sort of square that, and what the regulators, the education regulators, are likely to want in the long term, square up with the shift towards English medium language? I mean, like I asked earlier, Andhra, obviously this has been announced, but not sure if it will actually be notified in the end. But how does the situation look like in Maharashtra and Gujarat, and eventual pushback towards against this sort of shift to English medium, and which is also against what the NEP envisages?
No. So first of all, no government would restrict, if I have understood clearly, no government will restrict converting schools to English medium schools for sure. And NEP does not mandate that compulsorily schools have to be in regional medium. What it has mandated is schools should teach the second and the third language compulsorily to all the students, be it the local language, that is compulsory. So government does not restrict that. Only change that we are seeing that each and every parent in the country, be it lower class parent also, they want to send their students to English medium school. Therefore, demand for English medium school is rising, which government will not restrict. And what we will see is shift from regional medium to English medium for sure very fast. So did I answer you? I do not know exactly if I've got your question correctly.
That's very helpful. The second question is the initiatives you started on eSense have been going back a few years, but some of the other LMS, ERP initiatives or the DigiBooks are all things you started in the last 1 or 2 years, and these are not normal years, so we won't have a good sense of this. But just if for a typical SSC school you were selling X lakhs of revenue in terms of guidebooks, workbooks, and 21 cents earlier. For a median school, what is the expectation that you'll be able to sort of take up revenue with these additional services and products you've now made available to them in a normal year? And what have you typically seen so far?
So I agree that till now eSense was focusing only SSC curriculum, and now that it has started focusing CBSE curriculum also together with various platforms, we will see reasonably good traction in CBSE schools. But when you ask about SSC schools, till now we have offered them only a curriculum, and that too animated curriculum, digital curriculum. Now that usage was definitely not as expected by us in the classroom, but the trend has really seems to have changed post-pandemic. Schools also have realized that apart from online education, which is not going to be the case going forward, but teaching through a digital curriculum is definitely much advantageous. So that one itself, that teaching through digital curriculum trend will definitely go much faster in SSC schools as well. Supported that by a good learning management platform to the school will be more advantageous. So what we are trying to say that though we have a digital content ready, but that will be supported with the platform as well. So when I'm talking about platform, it is curriculum planning, or it could be on which day, which chapter to be taught, all those planning, attendance, all those will be part of that platform. So that will be more advantageous to the school, and therefore usage will be better. That's what we are foreseeing.
And just as this grows and this is sold more directly to the schools and the existing publications business, will this sort of have the same economics in terms of margins and working capital as the existing publications business?
For SSC medium, what we are publishing till now are supplementary books. The usage of supplementary books in SSC, we presume, will continue for many years now, till the time each even physical book gets transformed to digital version. So on margins front, I'm not foreseeing any challenge as far as print business is concerned. But as far as digital business is concerned, because of many new initiatives, continuously improvement of the product and marketing of that product will entail further expenditure. So at a group level, we may see a little dip in margin because of these investments, but on purely physical books, I'm not seeing any challenge on maintaining margins.
And sir, on Orchid, how has the last half year been in terms of, and what do you see going forward in terms of ramp up of schools, student count, and just profitability metrics there? You've given us a very long-term sort of guidance on what Orchid could hit, and they were aiming to hit roughly 15-20 schools in each major city they're in. But just where have we sort of reached now, and have we gotten past the issues with parents not agreeing to being behind on payments given the issues of students not being in school, etc.?
Yeah, it's a good question. Now, thankfully, the technological initiatives that Cater as a company had made, I should say that when first lockdown was announced, in 2 days' time, our schools were up running, giving online coaching. So that way, last year we could achieve almost 70% of the revenue, means the collection of fees. Many parents did not pay or partly paid, that I agree. But this year it has been quite well since beginning, since April this year. It has been quite good. But during this pandemic, we realized that the excellent technological products or the physical books that K-12 has created so far, why should it be put to use only in Orchid schools? Why can't it be sold to many other outside schools? So they further invested. So one side, growth of school no doubt has restricted in last year, but this year again we are going aggressive. But that is one line of activity, managing the schools. The other line that it has developed, many new products have been developed in K-12 to cater to non-Orchid schools also, and that they have started marketing. And for that, huge sales team also has been appointed. So when we see standalone number of K-12, though revenue will increase year on year, but simultaneously, like all edtech companies, expenses are also likely to increase. So value-wise, I would say K-12 is creating really great value by bringing out newer and newer products catering to new schools. Bottom line wise, we may not see good numbers at least for next 2 years or so, but value-wise, it is really creating a great value.
Just one request for me would be if we could include I know it's an associate, not disclosed numbers this quarter, but if you could include numbers on revenues, PBT commission, and student count and number of schools on a quarterly basis, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I'd now like to hand the conference over to the management for closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks Jinesh and Sweta from Prabhudas Lilladher for hosting this call and allowing us to discuss with our fellow investors on the present situation and the future of Navneet Group. So thank you all of them, as well as I thank all the participants who have attended this call, and I have tried replying all their questions. And if at all you have many more questions, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer them. And thank you, Jinesh, once again.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Prabhudas Lilladher Private Limited, that concludes this conference call. Thank you for joining with us, and you may now disconnect your lines.
Thank you.
Thank you.